This video is sponsored by VR Final. Go to vrfinal.com to get the latest VR news. Hey there guys and gals, it's Depanda here with another reaction video of some VR news. Now, for today's VR news, we don't have anything controversial, unfortunately. There hasn't been much controversy in the news lately, but that's alright because something interesting just dropped. Apparently, according to this news article, a trailer drops for Omniversity, the world's first college entirely in VR. Alright, so let's take a look at it. This is from vrfinal.com. We'll check it out and see what it says. The article starts off, "They always told me that college will be the best years of my life. Until later that year, that was probably a fair summary of my experience. Something that became exceedingly clear as I finished my undergraduate degree long distance is not just the limitation of remote learning technology, but the wider problems facing modern education." Now, this is exactly right, guys. Now, if you don't know, we're in the middle of a pandemic right now, and that means that people can't go to school. What my school's doing, I go to school right now in case you guys didn't know, what my school's doing is they're doing like a sync type thing is what they call it, where half the class goes in person and then half the class participates via Zoom. It's been a very weird experience, and what ends up happening is that most of the class ends up participating by Zoom and nobody ends up going in person. So, and then when you're on Zoom and you're trying to learn how to do, like, I don't know, advanced mathematics or engineering, it doesn't work over Zoom. Not all degrees can be done via a Zoom lecture. In fact, if you could be taught via a Zoom lecture, then there's no reason why you can't be taught by just pre-produced videos. Instead of wasting an hour on a Zoom call, you could be watching a 15-20 minute video that teaches the same exact concepts, or better yet, you could just be reading a book about the concept. So that's my thoughts on this long distance education thing that's been going on right now. But let's see what this article says. Omniversity aims to address both of these areas. Established last year, Omniversity is the brainchild of its co-founders, transmedia artist Ioana Mishi, and innovator and educator Audra Bria. This partnership represents the intersection of art and enterprise, a duality at the heart of what is working to become the world's first entirely virtual university experience. Now, I don't know much about this Omniversity, but if they're trying to be an entirely virtual university, I just don't see that happening. I'm going to be honest with you. Before we even get to the rest of the article, I'll just tell you right now, I don't think we're ever going to see a university that's entirely in virtual reality. I just don't think that's likely. You could definitely learn some things in a virtual reality experience. You could definitely learn some sciences or engineering, but there's a lot of things that just don't work in a virtual university environment. Maybe like 5-10 years down the road, we could start to see virtual universities that are full virtual, but at the moment, I just don't see that being a possibility. It just doesn't make sense. You'd be forgiven for thinking that current circumstances, you know, the deadly global pandemic and all that, were the primary inspiration for the project, but in reality, the intentions were far more fundamental. How can we make sure that education is augmenting our capabilities, helping us achieve our full potential, and does that in an inclusive, personalized, and last but not least, in a fun and engaging way? These are the questions that we're trying to answer through Omniversity, and we couldn't be more excited about this challenge. Okay, so they're claiming that the pandemic wasn't the inspiration for them creating Omniversity, and I believe that. I remember when I first started working at a VR arcade, one of the things that the VR arcade owners were selling me was the fact that VR could be used to teach people, and a lot of people that came into our arcade, we just put them through like educational experiences. I remember one where you shrunk down to the level of a blood cell and you go inside the bloodstream and learn about viruses and bacteria and all that kind of stuff, and that's a pretty interesting thing. It's a fun way to learn something, but it's like a field trip experience. It wasn't a full class. It was like a field trip experience, and again, I don't think that virtual reality is going to replace a university, but I think more realistically, virtual reality could be used in conjunction with regular classes in high school and maybe in the college level, augmenting the education that's already taking place, making it even better than it was. Standard educational practices, which are more often than not memorization driven, have more and more been critiqued as ineffective, draining, and alienating to large swaths of the student population. Oh, ain't that the truth? I feel that more than ever right now in my educational experience. I want nothing more than to just be done with education because I'm sick of just having to memorize things. Talk to anybody that's successful in any way and they'll tell you that, you know, university isn't necessarily a requirement. If you want to be a good coder, you don't need to go to university. You can learn to code entirely online for free, or if not free, you pay like $15 and you get like hours and hours of course material larger than what you'd get at a university for a semester. So yeah, memorization, it's just, what's the point of me memorizing the king of Great Britain that did this thing in 1500 and who knows when? It doesn't help anybody. And then memorizing the weird acronyms, like I'm a business major and it feels like every single class there's a new acronym that I have to memorize, and at that point when there's so many different acronyms to memorize, the acronyms aren't helping anymore. If I have to remember what move means for this class and move means for that class and they mean different things, what's the point of making them acronyms? Acronyms are supposed to help you memorize things, but if we make everything an acronym and all we're doing is talking in acronyms, then what's the point? Anyways, rant. Go back to the article. Omniversity attempts to surpass these limitations and open up education with a combination of creativity and technology, allowing students to learn from intuitive, interactive VR gaming applications all at their own pace. So it sounds like this is supposed to be a type of university where you go at your own pace, learning with these classes. Again, I think they're using university in a not literal sense. I don't think they're going to be a real university, more just a learning application. And maybe it'll be implemented into actual education classes. We'll see in the future. Omniversity will be a learning platform with limitless possibilities. The trailer shows us exactly what that means in practical terms. Students of all ages and backgrounds could have virtual access to musical instruments, science experiments under the sea, or hands-on experience with ancient historical artifacts. All right, so one thing I want to point out here is you're not going to learn a musical instrument in virtual reality. As a music teacher and a professional musician, I can tell you right now, you're not going to learn how to play the piano or the guitar in VR. That's never going to happen. You want to learn to play the piano? You need a piano. You want to learn to play guitar? You need guitar. Now, that's not to say you couldn't learn basic musical ideas. You could learn the basics of rhythm or the basics of reading music possibly in a virtual reality experience, but you're never going to actually learn to play a song in a virtual piano. That's just not going to happen. And specifically in the trailer, they show a piano. That's just not going to work. The hand tracking isn't good enough for that. Plus, you need some sort of feedback response. If they could find a way to get an actual piano, bring it into the VR world so that you could play a real piano in real life, but in the VR world interact with a piano teacher, now that's something that might be possible. Being such an ambitious project, the team are on the lookout for collaborators from across the educational spectrum. The startup has made a call for entries, looking for students and educators to help develop Omniversity. The team hopes to help all educators and practitioners that aim to translate their practice into enriching, immersive experiences. The project is currently in an advanced development stage, and the company are actively looking for funding. Omniversity co-founder and CPO Andrea Bria has announced that an investor's pitch will be held on the audio platform Clubhouse on Friday the 15th January, blah, 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 blah. If you have any questions, go along. Anyways, that's pretty much it. So they're pretty early in the process of creating this, so it's not very clear what it's going to be or what it's going to turn out to be. That's probably going to be the investors that are going to help kind of define whether or not Omniversity is going to be something they try to sell to schools to use in conjunction with already the class material that they have in place, or if it's going to try and replace current class material or try to replace an actual university. Again, I don't think it's very likely that a university will ever be completely virtual anytime soon. Maybe like 10-20 years down the road, but right now it's just not possible. Anyways, that's it for this video. Just a quick look at the possibility of doing VR university schoolwork. It sounds interesting, sounds fun, sounds futuristic and scientific, but we have to keep reality in check. I just don't see this happening, though I am interested to see what Omniversity does. It sounds like Omniversity could be something really cool to help educators, because despite me thinking that virtual reality will never replace a university, I really think that universities and high schools should implement virtual reality to help learn, to amplify the learning that takes place in the classroom, because learning in VR is a lot better than learning just by watching a video or hearing about something. If you can experience whatever you're learning about in a virtual environment, that's leagues above watching a video on the subject. So that's my thoughts on it. Thanks again for watching. If you made it till the end, you guys might as well subscribe, and that's it. I'm out.